A lot of people in crypto are completely tired of not making money, let alone lose money. It's freaking horrible. And there are two ways to get completely wrecked. And if you look back in the meantime, you can say to yourself, like, man, I could have had that. So in this video, I'm gonna give you the lowest risk strategy ever. That's almost actually a guaranteed win for you and a pretty big win as well. I'm going to tell you exactly what I am going to do to make sure that I walk away with a lot of money. And I don't need to take a lot of risk with that. But I'm also going to show you what I think the huge mistakes are that you can make. So welcome to the FOMO Factory. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, and let's try to make this work with each other, right? Without taking stupid risk. Now, what I do want to mention though, at this specific stage of the market, it's not the worst idea to take some stupid risk. Okay, if you look at the altcoin market, this is the alt season indicator basically. You know, one thing that you can say to yourself is like, wow, we're all the way down. Let's not buy altcoins. Look, the thing when to not buy altcoins usually is when it's up, right? And when do buy it, that's whenever it's down. And now is definitely a better moment than what it was since the last 4 years. Hey, what a coincidence. It's a 4 year cycle, right? So that's actually not that bad. But overall, are you really going to risk on every fucking shitcoin out there, putting your money in, hoping that it works, hoping that would be the exception? Or are you gonna say to yourself, you know what? I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna be in coins like Luna and Mantra. Great. Like that's also never guaranteed. Now, let me be clear, there are no guarantees in crypto, but there are definitely ways you can set yourself up for being a lot safer. So I want to talk real quick about two ways how people get completely wrecked. And these two ways are actually the opposite of each other. And in order to do that, I have to take two YouTubers and say something about them that people maybe don't agree with or don't like, but yeah, fuck you then. Like, I do think that listening to the wrong influencers or listening to influencers saying the wrong things, let me put it like that, can be a huge mistake. Okay, so don't depend on these people, right? You also don't listen to me. It's better that if you study the cycle yourself and study where the money is coming from and how it works, how it flows, how the macro works a little bit. Maybe it's better than to go on YouTube seeing like, oh, top 10 altcoins to buy. Let's buy them. What stage of the market is it? No idea, but he says so, right? Like, that's not working. And I think a lot of people are learning that. But hey, we maybe have a long way to go, right? So the first mistake that I want to talk about are people that are listening to people that are too bullish, right? Too positive on the wrong moments. And it's an example. It's not that I want to talk bad about somebody. I made some wrong calls. Everybody makes wrong calls in crypto. But there are also people that structurally make very wrong calls, right? And that can actually cause people damage, right? Whether you feel like, yeah, but hey, you press the buy button. You do press the buy button. It's your choice. But these YouTubers are a part of your research, right? Now, if you take, for example, this as a part of your research, this was a video of 2022 with Miles Deutscher, and he said, my crypto shopping list, alt season confirmed. And this video was posted at August 12th, 2022. If we go back to the alt season chart, when was that? August 12th, 2022 was this week right here. So when did he post, for example, a video about, hey, alt season confirmed? At the top of a dead cat bounce, actually right at the start when alt season ended, right? And it's not that I'm showing this like, hey, somebody made a mistake, but I do feel like, yo, if you don't know actual shit, then don't put something on YouTube, right? But that's what a lot of people follow, and that's what you might be following later this bull market as well, right? When you know, when things are toppy and maybe are already going down, like here, right? Whenever we get this, a lot of retail will come in, right? Maybe you will be new, you will be watching this video for some reason, and you might be like, oh yeah, excited, right? Yeah, that's not the best timing. Now, the thing is that a lot of people now also do it the other way around, right? So this is an example of being overly euphoric in a market that is peaking. But there are also people that can be overly bearish in a market that's bottoming. And that's as bad, right? That's just as bad because, you know, you can like not buy here because a YouTuber said like, oh, worst moment ever, it's bad. Yeah, then whenever it goes up, one, you miss out. Two, you will probably buy the top. Three, you will get emotional because you bought the top. You will sell the low and you will lose anyway. And that during a bull market. Yeah, guys, come on. We have bear markets to lose, right? Like, let's not do that in bull markets, right? That would be absolutely terrible, of course. Now, one example that I want to give about this is a very respected YouTuber, actually, and somebody that I feel like, hey, you say a lot of good stuff. But when it comes to the altcoin market, I can believe the stuff that's being said. And I do feel like, yeah, that's also going to cause some harm, actually. And after that, I want to show you a way if you feel like, you know, I get it. I get it. Let me not risk it all. How can I actually win without taking a lot of risk? Very easy, and I'm gonna show you. So, but the second is Eric Crown, right? And I respect him for his Bitcoin analysis. But I just saw this video today, and this made me feel like, oh my God, come on, man. Because he's the same person as well that, you know, not too long ago, a couple months ago, he said like, yeah, cycle top Q1, maybe Q2. And yesterday he said, yeah, September. So we'll see when he's going to say that it's going to be Q4 at a certain point, right? But change your mind if needed, definitely. But don't put people on the wrong foot. But he said this today, and this was really interesting to me. So take a quick look, listen. It's not too long, right? But check.
Amia says, GM sir, please look at others on high-term time frame and low-term time frame. Oh God! All right, so get to look at all the shit coins minus the dollar derivatives. Or no, it's yeah, and excluding the top 10. Yeah, so
that's where it's already going wrong, right? He is reviewing a lot of altcoins, but what I notice in his live streams that every time somebody asks him about an altcoin, which is quite, you know, high cap or whatever, he's always like, what's that? So he doesn't know these altcoins in the first place. Also, when he pops up the general altcoin market chart, he's like, oh yeah, that's everything without stables. Oh no, that's, then I already feel like, oh, but you don't even know what this is, man. But then his next reaction kind of surprises me.
So going deep inside the shitcoin drawer right here.
Look, and he also said like, look deep into the shitcoin territory, all the cryptos. The man doesn't know that if you can Google on TradingView what the definitions are of these charts, and that can give you a pretty decent overview of a chart, because it's the top 125. We are not looking at shitcoin rank 4,000. That's not included in here, right? So he already doesn't really like know what this chart is. But then it's getting even better than he says this.
Terrible, just terrible, just terrible. Again, this is a cycle high. Like it is. It is. You're seeing momentum also just turn down across the board. Here's your quarterly, here's your monthly, here's your weekly, or your weekly's actually turning up. So, you know, does this one bounce a little bit more in the short term? Possible for sure. That would align with my thought that Bitcoin it very well could make a new high at around 120. But if Bitcoin makes a new high at around 120, where would I expect this thing to go? Maybe from about here to like a 50% move to the.
So, look, if Bitcoin goes to 120, then what this chart does, I have no fucking clue. It depends like what the Bitcoin dominance is going to do. But I think we have all seen lately that the Bitcoin dominance is pretty freaking flashing at the moment. But also by just popping up the chart, look, and I'm not making this again. I don't want to make a negative video or anything about another YouTuber with another opinion or whatever. But I do feel like, man, a lot of people listen to you, but you don't know what the fuck the chart is that you're looking at in the first place. Then just say like, hey guys, sorry, I have to research it a little bit more before I can say something about it. Because now a lot of people that, for a good reason, respect Crown for his Bitcoin analysis, look at the altcoin chart and be like, oh, it's bearish. It isn't. He just doesn't know what this chart is in the first place, right? As he's also popping it up, say, this is cycle high. Look, bro, in the last cycle, based on what, right? We have that run up, we go down, we have another run up making a higher high, we go down, we made a lower low or higher low, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. In the last cycle, we had that run up, we made a high, we went down, we made a lower high, and then we came down again, and then we got a bull. So this structure is even looking better. Then why the fuck can you, based on only seeing that, say that there is a top? And what's really interesting as well to me though, is that he says like, yeah, the weekly stochastic is pointing up, so we're getting maybe a 50% move. The last time the weekly stochastic was going up, we got a 199% move. The time before that, it had a 365% move. And the time before that, in a bear market, in the middle of a bear market, we got an 85% move, right? Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense when it comes to this. So I think that there are two big problems with analysis that are being done that people just look at and be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to hold on to because this person says so, right? One, as a viewer, at all times, don't look at one certain YouTuber or whatever and say like, oh yeah, he says so, so it's going to be right, right? I've made mistakes before. Crown has made mistakes before. Miles has made mistakes before. Like, nobody is gonna be right all the time, right? So don't do that. But also, when it comes to the type of influencers, you have people that are calling for cycle tops and new lows all the time, and they won't happen. Like here, or you have guys that have showed before that that's basically saying, hey, alt season at the fucking top, literally at the top, right? And then, make a video like, I was wrong. And then another week later, another video about a new alt season, yada, yada, yada. So please be careful with that, okay? Now, what I want to show you though, if you feel like, man, if all these YouTubers can be wrong, then who am I to be right? Right? This altcoin game, whatever, it's too risky for me. If you feel like that, which you should feel 90% of the time in a cycle, right? We have a 4-year cycle and we only have a couple months where altcoins actually outperform, and that's usually in the post-halving year, whether it's late in the post-halving year, early, we have a moment for that, right? And that moment hasn't come yet, right? We are going down, we have some dead cat bounces, same as the last cycle. And then here it started to go up, and really here as well. And in 2017, you saw that as well, that we had that alt season here, little pause, and the second leg of that same alt season at the end of 2017, right? So yeah, we haven't seen that yet. However, apart from the fact that now, in my opinion, is the best time and is the only good time actually, if you feel like, man, this whole altcoin game, it's not worth the risk, right? The people that have been, and here comes the part where I think that that you're gonna win, man. The people there are a lot of people that have been buying altcoins for the last 4 years, right? Let's say 4 years. There's a 4-year cycle. For the last 4 years, people have been buying altcoins like crazy, right? And if sorry, if you take it 4 years back, then that's there's something in my throat. I think it's Crown's content. No, I don't know. May right here, right? So if you have started to buy altcoins right here, you made a loss, you made profit, you made basically, you bought completely during the bear market. You bought a lot of coins that died in the meantime, right? So overall, like, should not be as great as this chart. You wrote it up, you wrote down, you wrote up, you wrote down. Overall, have you made profit by just buying altcoins in the last 4 years and holding them? Most people didn't. Okay. Now, let's go to the thing where you are going to make most money, but also where you are going to turn off this video right now because you think it's boring, which it's actually not. And that's Bitcoin. First, let's go 4 years back in time again with that as well. And then let's go 4 years from now to see how it actually fits in reality. So if you look at, this is a DCA simulation. So if you would have said to yourself, I was going to buy Bitcoin, right? With $250 per week. Like, for some people, that's a lot. For some people, that's not a lot. I don't know about your paycheck, so I'm just filling in $250 per week, $1,000 a month of Bitcoin, right? Do whatever fits for you. Weekly, every Monday, whatever. Starting date 4 years ago until today. Standard. Doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is, right? You buy all the way in the bull market, the highest prices you buy during the bear market, doesn't matter. You would have invested $52,000 over the last 4 years, right? One, what's the benefit? You are in Bitcoin. 4 years ago, it was not an altcoin you could have bought, and you said to yourself, in 4 years, this will 100% guaranteed be around, right? You can also not 100% guaranteed with Bitcoin, but, pretty likely, right? So $52,000 invested in something that you won't lose sleep over at night, right? Today, that would be worth $136,000, right? So this doesn't sound spectacular, right? I know, making a 2.5x win crypto, right? Again, you don't have to do shit crypto related. You don't have to put your attention anywhere. You don't have to look at these YouTubers. You don't have to stress out over any altcoin. You don't have to look at a chart a single fucking day of your life. You don't have to do anything. The only thing that you had to do is to fill in an order on your bank account or on an exchange or whatsoever, or do it manually once a week, where you buy $250 of the very safest crypto asset out there, and then don't look back at it anymore. Today you will look and be like, hey, I have 136K. The people who started, with $52,000 overall in the last 4 years in altcoins, they don't have this, right? They don't have this. So overall, can altcoins make you more money? Yes, that's why people are in these altcoins, but only if you understand the market. If you don't listen to the people who tell you to buy here, also if you don't listen to the people who tell you that the top is in here, right? Only if you buy when prices are low and sell when it's really high, have no emotions, a couple of good balls, and know what the good altcoins are. If you did a bunch of research, etc., then you can outperform. Yeah, you have to take a lot more risk. And if you don't get hacked or scammed or whatever, right? So you take so fucking a lot more risk for potentially a lot more reward. But on the other hand, most people, they don't walk away with it. They take that risk, and then it turns out why it's risky, right? While in fact, the people that say, like, screw that, they're pretty much guaranteed to walk away with money. It's the same as with the S&P, right? Same as the NASDAQ, same as gold. There's not a guarantee, but these assets, they overall have a pretty decent yearly return, right? Now, you can also say to yourself, like, I want to be a little more active, right? What if I dynamically DCA in? And that means buying a little bit more when prices are lower and buying a little bit less when prices are higher, right? If you accumulated only up to a certain risk level, right? That's what this is based on. You would have invested $27,000 in that same time period with $250. Everything is the same, right? But you invested less because Bitcoin spent less time in that risk level. Then your $27,000 would now be worth $117,000. You made over a 4x with Bitcoin by just DCAing, not trying to time tops, whatever, right? You can also say, I want to buy up to a certain higher risk level, right? When the prices are a little bit higher, then overall you would have invested $56,000. You invested more, you now have more money as well, ROI a little lower, but you will now be sitting at $211,000. This is Bitcoin. This is not hypothetically. This is not what if. This is literally a simulation of the past. And a simulation of the past is not a guarantee for the future. But then again, then why are you in crypto? If you feel like, well, that won't happen again, then why are you here in the first place, right? So how can we project this for the future? Well, let's take a look at this. The S&P has an average return of about 10% yearly, which is not bad. And if you adjust inflation, then it's around 6-7%. So even by being in the S&P, you are beating inflation and you're compounding that 6-7%. So that's quite a lot, actually. Now, for Bitcoin, it's the following. It's over the last 10 years, right? And why did I do 10 years? Well, Bitcoin had such an insane, explosive couple first years, that whole 2012-13 period, that I think that's a little, maybe not that realistic anymore, because this is also diminishing, just like the S&P, right? But even if we take that away, and just over the last 10 years, Bitcoin inflation adjusted yearly returns are 68%, right? Now, again, that's diminishing, right? So it will be less eventually, right? But there will always be an ROI for Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is paired against the dollar, and the dollar is being worth less. So 1 + 1 is 2, right? So I went to my dear friend and I said, can you help me calculate? Bitcoin yearly ROI is 20%, right? And that's already really a lot of diminishing. I think it will be higher in the coming years, but eventually will be 20%. If I start buying today $250 worth of Bitcoin every week, how much would it be worth in 5 years? So here it's telling me that it will be worth in 5 years $113,000, right? Now, that's a pretty sick outcome. So I said, what about 10 years? And in 10 years, it's going to be worth $413,000. And it gave me this graph right here, right? And I was looking even further at this, and now it gives you a graph that, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, thanks, man. You're such freaking help right here. Absolutely. Oh man, never mind. Okay, here we go. Right. So it says this is pretty worst case scenario. If you invest weekly $250 in Bitcoin, right? What would it be worth over 10 years? If the ROI is 10%, which is not gonna happen, because then the S&P is almost even more rewarding than Bitcoin. But even then, in 10 years, you will be comfortably sitting on more than $200,000. I think that even 25% ROI on average in the next 10 years is a bit on the low side. But let's say you will be sitting at $500,000. It's including your investment, of course, right? So if you do that with $1,000 a week, then you will be sitting around 2 million. right? Dollars. And that way, you can use ChatGPT to make these calculations for you. I said, can you take inflation into account as well? Yes. And then you will be sitting like at $1.75 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, this is the important thing. Again, people, they think Bitcoin is boring. And look, Bitcoin is, when it comes to the volatile altcoin market, yeah, indeed, it's pretty boring, right? It's not going to give you 100x. But the altcoin market can give you 100x, but you're also going to need it, because it's not that you invest in altcoins and hey, here's 100x. If you put $1,000 in altcoins, you first have to lose $5,000 to eventually put in $10 and make 100x on that, right? If you're lucky, right? And with Bitcoin, it is showing like, hey, the slow but steady approach, it does work, right? Now, this is not an interesting strategy for people that want to become rich overnight. But then again, ask yourself, if I would have done this 4 years ago, instead of gambling in altcoins, I would now have way more money, and I can now use that money to gamble in altcoins, right? And for now, again, it's like, what do I have? Like, okay, gamble in the altcoin market, fine. But if you have a possibility to just put some money in weekly in Bitcoin, I do think that the future you in 4, 5, 10 years, whatever your time horizon is going to be thankful. He is going to be, she, it, whatever the fuck you are, like, it's going to be thankful for what you did starting today, right? And don't try to look at this kind of stuff and be like, oh, I wish I did this 4 years ago. Now it's too late. People will say that in 4 years from now as well. And that's what you want to already do. So this one I'm going to do, right? I'm just going to put a certain amount in Bitcoin every week with my company, right? Personally, not yet personally, I now think it is time for the altcoin market. And that's what I'm going to gamble on, right? Because every season, every cycle has a season where it is time. And yeah, it's very clear it hasn't been time yet. And once everybody is kind of convinced that it won't be time for altcoins, I think it's time. And it looks like that's the time right now. But with my company, I feel like, man, I can have my holdings in dollars or euros in my case, but I can also put it in Bitcoin, right? What's the worst that can happen? Oh, the worst is always zero. But if I'm really realistic, what's the worst that can happen during a normal bear market? If I put it in altcoins, I will probably lose 98% of my money if I'm lucky, right? They can also die. If I put it in Bitcoin, what's the worst that could happen? It goes down 60, 70%, and in 2 years, it's back up again and higher, right? Fuck that. Have a long-term Bitcoin back at all times, right? Will save you a lot. I hope this was helpful. And maybe I'm telling you something that you already know, but I do not think that a lot of people apply this. So, check this out for yourself. Just ask ChatGPT, hey, I want to invest, like, what's the average ROI for Bitcoin? What's the predicted? That's also based on nothing, right? But hey, Bitcoin is necessary. What's the predicted average ROI for Bitcoin in the coming 4 years? Let me round it up after that. I don't know if ChatGPT is going to tell me this, right? But it can do it based on, they can do it for the S&P as well. So it's not that weird, maybe. So here we go. Yeah, okay. This is telling absolutely nothing to me. All right, cool. The range is between 15 and 35%. Okay, seems fair. 30 and 15 and 35%. So just ask ChatGPT, like, hey, if it's, let's make it like, again, 25 average. Tell him, like, hey, I want to invest $100 every week or whatever your amount is with this ROI. what would it be in 5 years, in 10 years? And you're gonna be surprised how good it is, man. So I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Guys, thanks for watching. If you think this is helpful, let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. Let's not get wrecked. I think that's most important. So let's make sure that we don't do that. All right? Take care.